Game of the Year is the most precious award, and every year we hope that our favorite game gets it. However, there are times when even some of the most deserving games never get the award. That's why I've made a list of 10 Game of the Year mentions. I will be talking about the games that have got the award and the ones that were worthy of it. Also, there will be part 2 coming up soon. Now let's look at the first game on our list. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We are starting out this list with one of the most popular Nintendo games with a stunning open world. Legend of Zelda is a remarkable series and almost every installment is top-notch. However, it's no doubt that Breath of the Wild made its name and we just can't stop playing it. To this day, the game is considered among the top 20 open world RPG games. It's like stepping into a living, breathing world where you're free to go wherever your curiosity takes you. The game is a massive open world experience, and the first thing you'll notice is how beautifully crafted it is. There are many landscapes such as forests, ancient ruins, peaceful villages, mountains. Everything is put together in a way so players can spend over 100 hours free roaming and exploring. The freedom is both overwhelming and exciting, with no hand-holding. You're encouraged to explore, constantly discovering new things, from solving shrine puzzles to finding hidden treasures or facing random enemies. There's just something happening all the time. The world is filled with a lot of content besides the main quest, which will keep you engaged. One moment you're making your way towards the next quest, and the next thing you know you're exploring a dungeon or fighting off goblins. Speaking of which, combat is simple but satisfying, with a wide range of weapons that break over time, forcing you to always think on your feet and adapt to new situations. The game also has a deep crafting system where you can cook meals and elixirs to boost your stats or help you survive in different environments. Now, in my opinion, one of the best features that really sets Breath of the Wild apart is the sense of adventure. Climbing up to a high vantage point and looking out over the vast world knowing you can go anywhere you see is amazing. It's a game that rewards curiosity, creativity, and exploration in a way that few others do, truly saying I was completely sure that this game was going to get the Game of the Year award when it was first released. I guess I just never expected that it'll become this popular and will be played even after 7 years, almost a decade. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This is perhaps the best RPG game of all time that is suitable for every player. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you get an awesome looking main character combined with an engaging storyline set in one of the best looking open worlds filled with monsters and magic. It's like stepping into a whole new world where every corner has a story waiting to be told. The entire map is filled with details, whether it's a village that's been terrorized by some ghoul or a ruined castle hiding some dark secret. In my opinion, the quests are where Witcher 3 really shines. You think you're just helping some peasant find his wife, and suddenly you're unraveling this deep, morally gray story where there's no clear good or bad choice. Every decision you make has weight, and the game doesn't hold your hand, which makes it all the more satisfying when you see how things play out. All I'm trying to say is that Witcher is different. Some of the quests aren't what they seem like. Simple mission of getting rid of ghouls can easily turn into getting lost in a dungeon for hours. It's definitely one of those games that will keep you engaged and will always throw something at you to keep those fingers moving. Combat is yet another aspect where you'll need to always keep your fingers on your controller. There are a lot of moves, critical hits, combos, spells, everything kind of adds up and you'll find yourself staying vigilant. It's challenging, but once you get the hang of mixing swordplay with signs, it feels incredibly rewarding. It's so good to explore new areas and stumble upon new types of enemies or mini-bosses. I mean, the game's core concept is for you to explore and complete quests, so it's obvious that every now and then you might need to kill a bunch of beasts, help locating NPCs, finding an item, and a lot more.
Waited until you found me, but well, you know me. Patience has never been my strong suit. It's good to see you, Geralt. I...
Now, we can't finish this game without mentioning its storyline. It all started from the story, that's the reason the books got popular, and we got the game in series. So it'd be a crime not to talk about the storyline. It's epic, emotional, and pulls you in from start to finish. The characters like Yennefer, Triss, and Ciri aren't just side characters, they're people you care about, and the game does a fantastic job of making you invested in their stories, making certain choices, deciding with which character you should side with. Truly saying, Witcher 3 is one of the greatest. It has all the features required for a great RPG, it's got an engaging storyline, best combat, plenty of quests, interactive open world, amazing graphics and beautiful visuals, different types of enemies, great dialogues and characters. I mean, what else do you need? Overall, Witcher 3 is the kind of game that sticks with you. It's not just about slaying monsters, it's about navigating a complex world where your choices really matter. It's a game that every RPG fan should experience at least once. God of War. This one's huge. 2018's release is such an awesome game and definitely worthy of the Game of Year award. This was the time when new gen fans got the chance to play as Kratos and see how much of an actual beast he is. Although things are changed as we have got a kid and Kratos is a father now. The way the father-son bond evolves throughout the game is really something special. It's kinda sad not to see Kratos in his prime, but believe me, there's nothing to worry about. Kratos still has its old touch, and every now and then you'll see that old ghost of Sparta spark in him. Despite all this, it's so good to see Kratos acting as a reliable father.
It doesn't seem to work on dragons, though.
Your brother wanted to know if you're getting enough to eat. I guess I could tell him you are.
Brock was asking about me?
Throughout the story, we visit several new realms. Each realm is different and showcases new environments. Across the journey, we will see Kratos doing a lot of things that we never could have hoped for when he was in his prime. There will be times when he will lose his cool, get all furious on Atreus, patiently talking, strategizing. I mean, there's just a lot of good stuff that you will love to experience. Older fans of the series must have already played the game as it's been 6 years since it was released. However, if you're someone who is still having second thoughts, then this is your cue to get your copy and dive in. You don't need to play the previous parts to understand what's going on, as this time we've got a brand new story set in Norse mythology. So, as you know, there will be a lot of familiar faces if you know about Norse gods. We will Kratos smashing skulls and throwing punches on trolls, Baldur, Valkyries. Speaking of throwing punches, there's a lot more than that. The combat is a mix of brutal up-close action. You've got the Leviathan axe, which is just a joy to use. It's got this satisfying weight to it, especially when you throw it and it comes flying back to you like Thor's hammer. Also, we can never forget about the customizations. The way you can equip different armor, gear, power-ups, and skills is extremely satisfying. God of War has flawless combat mechanics. Play the game with headphones, and you will be on cloud 9 after listening to the sounds of punches, blades, and arrows. You will surely be amazed to see what a masterpiece this game is. Sekiro. One of my favorite combat games of all time. Sekiro is the literal definition of how you make sword combat games combined with different mechanics. The gameplay is the best thing, it's super fluid and smooth. From the moment you start the game, From Software shows you how difficult the journey is gonna be. I'm sure that some of you must have died even on the first enemy. I mean, it's not your usual normal games where everything is easy or moderate, the difficulty level is at its peak. There's no option to adjust the difficulty settings. So, you must get better and learn mechanics. A lot of players say that once you learn parrying, the game becomes easy. However, I beg to differ. I agree that parrying is game-breaking, but it's still very hard. You probably find parrying easier with normal enemies, but it still takes a huge amount of time to master the art of parrying against some bosses. I know that most of you who have played other difficult games, or most likely Souls game, will have a huge advantage over the newcomers, but Sekiro still provides a challenging experience. I have utmost respect to the developers for making this game. Sekiro is the only AAA game that I have finished more than 4 times. I remember how much of a crazy game it was when it was first released. At that time, there weren't many helpful guides or cheese kills, so you can't just rush your way and kill everyone. I completed the game in the first 5 days, hence you can pretty much guess how many times I must have died. Now, one thing I want to point out is that there's a lot of content or hidden secrets you're probably going to miss in your first playthrough. That's why I recommend trying the New Game Plus and exploring everything. It's so good to stumble upon a new boss, find a new prosthetic tool, discover a new area. Sekiro is not just about combat, it's got a lot of cool stuff, same as the other Souls games. Also, while we are on the subject, I would like to say that the lore is pretty good. I liked all 4 endings. Tell us about your favorite ending. Mine was the last one where the inner child acts as a cradle and Wolf accompanies them on their journey to the west. Dragon Age Inquisition. Sort of a complex game, and you will probably wonder what to do in it. Inquisition is great and is one of those games that pulls you in and doesn't let go. Imagine a world on the brink of chaos, with dragons soaring through the sky and political affairs at every turn. Amidst all this, you as a player are an Inquisitor, someone who can close these massive rifts, tearing through the sky and spilling out demons. Now, as compelling as it sounds, trust me, it's a lot more complex than that. I mean, at first glance it all looks captivating as you get a big open world filled with different regions, and your main job is to travel and close rifts to prevent demons destroying your world. While this whole adventurous, becoming a hero stuff seems nice, but the way Dragon Age shocks you and provides you with a lot of stuff is bizarre. When you first enter the game, soon you will get all these powers or attacks and just thrown into the open world. I can't even begin to remember how many times I questioned myself about what I have to do. What I'm trying to say is that your first initial hours in this game will be slightly difficult as you'll need to figure out a lot of stuff. However, once you get the hang of everything, that's when the game becomes really interesting. You can go anywhere you want, form party members, visit different towns, listen to political affairs, fight off various enemies. Speaking of fighting, the combat is a mix of strategic and action, letting you pause to plan your moves or just dive into the fray depending on your style. But it's not just about the battles, it's about the choices you make. Every decision feels like it matters, whether you're deciding the fate of entire nations or just having a chat with one of your companions by the campfire. The dialogue is sharp, and the characters feel like real people you could actually care about. Most of the characters in the game have their own sub-stories, which kind of keeps us engaged. These are not your normal NPC party members. They will do so much more than just throwing random attacks in the battle. The game really gives a feeling of an adventure with your buddies. It's the kind of RPG that makes you feel like you're truly part of a living, breathing world. The story is one of the best features along with the cutscenes. It's epic in every sense of the word, filled with moments that will make you gasp, laugh, and maybe even shed a tear or two. The choices you're going to make will haunt you, but in a good way. You will see ripple effects of your actions play out over the course of the game. If you love immersive stories, complex characters, and a world you can lose yourself in, Dragon Age Inquisition is a must-play. Bloodborne. This one is yet another great choice for the Game of the Year award. Honestly, I think that Witcher 3 took the limelight from this game in 2015. I mean, when you see it clearly, obviously Witcher 3 is better. However, probably if Bloodborne was released in a different year, then it likely would have gotten the award. I mean, for God's sake, the game is a literal masterpiece. Fans like me are dying to see it becoming available on PC. I don't know what Sony is thinking. How much time are they going to take before we can actually play it on desktop? It's almost a decade since it was released, and even the newest exclusives are ported for PC. Anyways, I hope we get a PC port soon, or maybe we get a sequel next year, or at least some news. Now, for those of you who have no idea about what I'm talking about, then you guys are in a treat if you love hardcore action and difficulty combined with dark horror looking environments. Bloodborne is one of those games that hooks you with its atmosphere from the moment you step into the game. The gothic vibes are just dripping from every corner, and it makes you feel like you're in this twisted, nightmarish world that's alive in its own dark way. I truly love this game. I'm not gonna say that I'm a huge fan of such environments, but for some reason I just can't stop appreciating and feeling immersive in these horrifying areas. The developers nailed the concept. These are not your Dark Souls type areas where you're just getting lost over and over again with no torch. Bloodborne atmosphere is fun to navigate, it's engaging, and every enemy slain will give you a sense of accomplishment. The combat is fast and brutal, with no room for hesitation. You have to be aggressive, but at the same time you need to be calculated. Every encounter feels like a life or death struggle, and when you finally take down a tough boss, it's this insane rush of accomplishment. Bloodborne isn't just a game, it's an experience. It's challenging, sometimes frustrating, but ultimately incredibly satisfying. If you're into dark, atmospheric games with tight combat and deep hidden lore, it's an absolute must-play. Uncharted 4. Perhaps the best Uncharted game in the series. The fourth part is packed with a lot of action and a perfect tribute to Nathan Drake's amazing journey. Uncharted 4 is like an epic adventure that combines the best elements of treasure hunting, action, and storytelling. The game starts with Nathan Drake, now retired, but you know it's just a matter of time before he's pulled back into the thrill of the hunt. And when his brother Sam shows up, the stakes get higher than ever. There's a lot of build-up, action-packed cutscenes, great characters, some of the best environments, awesome parkour, and an engaging sort of emotional storyline. The game's pacing is pretty good, maybe not for some players, but if you manage to put in at least 3 hours, then you will surely be hooked and will never want to quit. It takes on this amazing journey through various landscapes such as islands, mansions, jungles, ruins, and much more. I mean, there are a lot of areas where you will be traveling or navigating and beating bad guys. Uncharted 4 never lets you feel boredom. Every step is a benchmark in Nathan's amazing legacy. The overall game is loaded with beautiful visuals filled with proper lighting, shadows, and colors. Every detail in the environment feels alive, from the lush jungles to the crumbling ruins. How many of you remember that boat scene with Nathan and Sam? It was so gorgeous to look being surrounded by the ocean. Now, you don't need to play the previous parts to understand what's going on, but please don't. I highly recommend you to play the first 3 games to connect and relate with the last game a lot more. The story of UC4 is really gripping, diving deep into Nathan's past, his relationships, and the consequences of his choices, like being part of a blockbuster movie, but with the added bonus of controlling the action. You will feel the thrill of discovery, parkour moments, solving puzzles, and a lot of action. Uncharted 4 is not just about the action though. It's also got those quiet, emotional moments that hit you in the feels, especially if you've been following Nate's journey from the beginning. It's a perfect send-off for the character, and by the end, you're left feeling like you've been on this incredible ride that you don't want to end.
Hey, brother! You good? Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon is one of those games that really sticks with you, especially if you're into open world adventures. The first thing that hits you is the world itself. It's breathtaking and made up of different landscapes or regions such as forests, mountains, open plains. You can easily get lost just exploring and taking in the scenery. The story is another big draw. Aloy's journey to uncover the truth about her past and the world she lives in is super engaging. The mix of ancient tribal culture with futuristic robotic creatures is unique, and it keeps you hooked as you try to piece everything together. Honestly, when I first saw this game, I immediately liked it because it felt like a big budget open world game. However, I'm not into robots, or you could say that the idea of adding robots in a fantasy RPG world sounds different. At first I didn't like it, but once I started playing the game and spent a couple of hours, everything changed and I realized how much of a great game it actually is. Sure, in 2024, we also have a sequel which in my opinion is kind of okay. I mean, Forbidden West sure is great, but mostly in terms of graphics and visuals, some of the things or mechanics are pretty good in the original Horizon. Anyways, we are not going to talk about the sequel, but if you have played the first one, then do give it a shot. Another cool factor besides the open world and story is the combat. It's a blast. You're not just button mashing, you have to be strategic, especially when you're up against those massive machines. It's all about figuring out the best way to take them down, whether you're setting traps, using your bow, or exploiting their weaknesses. It's challenging, but in a way that feels really rewarding. The game gives you the freedom of trial and error, along with exploration. You can find certain items that will help you get better, or you can die several times to find weaknesses of enemies. One thing is for sure that you surely won't get bored and will be engaged throughout your playthrough. Now, this doesn't go for all the players, especially for those who just started the game and are hoping something awesome will happen that will get them hooked. Zero Dawn is certainly not at the level of the greatest RPG games, but if you want something different, then this one is the best pick for you. So, get ready to shut down some machines and explore the mysterious world. Marvel Spider-Man. This OG Spider-Man game must not have gotten the award, but it sure captivated our hearts. The 2018's release is my favorite Spider-Man game. Of course, the older games are synced with nostalgia, but it's great to see Peter swinging his web on a modern console. You can never go wrong with this game. There's so much new stuff and everything has been improved. The buildings look spectacular, the entire New York City looks immersive, then there's your realistic web swinging, and finally the game introduces some of the OG villains. I know some of you guys will disagree, but I believe that this game is kind of like reboot of the entire Spider-Man storyline or all the previous games. Insomniac decided to set things straight and introduced us to the coolest Spider-Man game. Now, before I mention some good stuff about this game, one of the biggest questions arises is whether you should go with the sequel or this one as your first choice. I just want to say without a doubt go with the 2018's release. You will surely be more synced and will feel more in touch with the game's world and storyline. Miles Morales is another decent choice, but that's a topic for another day. This time I solely want to focus on why Marvel Spider-Man is an amazing game and worthy of Game of the Year. swinging through New York City as Peter Parker is just as satisfying as you'd hope. It's smooth, fast, and the city is alive with so much to do. The combat is fluid, blending punches, web shooting, and parkour or acrobatic moves that make every fight feel cinematic. It's not just about the action though, the story is surprisingly emotional, perfect character development. You get to experience Peter Parker's struggles not just as Spider-Man but as a person trying to balance his life. Before I reveal my final pick, here are some honorable mentions. Red Dead Redemption 2. We can never end this list without mentioning one of the best Rockstar gems ever. Red Dead is a game for decades. I will make sure that even my kid plays this game. And this journey filled with memorable moments, great characters, amazing landscapes, engaging missions, taught us a lot of stuff and gave us one of the best possible endings. I won't spoil anything for you, but you definitely have to give it a shot if you haven't played it yet. Every moment in this game feels like a real-life movie. Rockstar made the open world full of details and visuals. Every NPC act like a real person. It's like they have got their own sub-story going on. Bonus tip, please stay patient in the first chapter and don't quit the game, because as soon as you start the second chapter, a whole new world opens up for you.
Somebody, help me!
Moving on, another bonus game we have is Last of Us Remake. I know that the second part got the award. However, I can't help but wonder why they never gave this game a chance. This was the birth of the series. From the moment you start your journey with Ellie, there's never a second wasted or a dull moment. Everything is nice and spectacular. Last of Us Remake takes you on this journey in a zombie world in a realistic manner. You are not some overpowered characters with supernatural abilities. Instead, you act like a normal human, sneaking around, collecting scraps and materials, setting traps, helping others, always on your toes, and praying that you don't make a sound. Maybe the gameplay is better in the sequel, but the bond between Ellie and Joel is quite magical in the original. Both characters will share so many heartfelt moments throughout this journey. Another bonus game is Devil May Cry 5. Honestly, I can't complain about this game. Sekiro won the title fair and square, but this doesn't mean that DMC was any less. Both games were of different genres and had different mechanics. Despite all this, the fifth part was hands down the best DMC game ever. Who knows, maybe if it would have gotten the award, we might have gotten some news regarding the sixth part. Anyways, DMC is a series that is loaded with action and punchlines. Every character is awesome and hilarious. It's one of those games where you feel like you're the ultimate beast and can take on any enemy. And the coolest thing is that everything you do in style. Literally the whole definition of the game is action hack/style and jokes. The word boredom fears this game. You will never feel like you're wasting your time. Every scene looks awesome, and every fight is exciting. There are also a lot of cool boss battles. Nier Automata. This one's a wild ride of emotions and deep philosophical questions wrapped up in a stunningly beautiful game. You start off thinking it's just another action RPG with androids fighting to save humanity, but it quickly becomes so much more. What really sets it apart is the story. The game isn't afraid to make you feel things, loss, confusion, hope, despair, and it does so with an incredible soundtrack that just amplifies everything. The characters, especially 2B and 9S, have a depth that you might not expect at first glance, and their journey is one that sticks with you long after you put the controller down. The combat is fluid and satisfying with a mix of hack and slash mechanics that keep you on your toes. Every moment feels incredible as you cheese your way through enemies. We're slicing through robots, machines, and using so many different fancy attacks, I can't even describe the feeling. It's extremely satisfying. Nier is a series that is definitely well known, but for some reason I don't see many players talk about it unless we are talking about anime or hack-and-slash-games in general. Don't get me wrong, I know there are a lot of players who mentions Nier even in the comments on this channel. However, I feel as though the game deserves more praise. We sure have gotten an anime about it, but it's certainly not well received. Not all of us loved the anime adaptation.
These machines are talking.
Yeah, I heard from the Resistance that they've been seeing this a lot lately. Couldn't tell you why.
Anyways, Nier is one of the best series. You will be amazed to see that this game is not just your third-person, fast-paced action. The developers added different playstyles, which feels like mini-games. There's side-scrolling shooting. You could say it's a game packed with a lot of engaging content that will always surprise you. Now, if we talk about open world, then it's not your usual Skyrim or Witcher type. Nier is set in a post-apocalyptic world where you'll see destroyed buildings, barren lands, empty regions, a lot of machinery though. In my opinion, this is the best thing. I mean, how can you put together all the other amazing features without a destroyed open world? Nevertheless, if you're more of a sci-fi fan and wants to experience a really heartfelt storyline, then don't look further, as Nier is the best choice. Plus, you also get a beautiful main character, kind of like anime style.
Why though?
Alright, this finishes our list of the 10 best games that are worthy of the Game of the Year award. If you have made it this far, then I want to say please wait, as there's a second part coming in the next few days. I know I have missed some of your favorite games, but I will surely add them in my next list. There are a lot of games that are well deserved as they captivate us with their charm and features. Anyways, if you have made it this far, then please subscribe, as I'm close to reaching 19,000 subscribers, and join my Discord for helpful gaming content.